أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome back to Living the Quran through the Living Quran, where we have been reviewing and analyzing chapter number 56, Surah al-Waqiyah, the chapter of the inevitable event, meaning the day of resurrection. And as we recall that this series is based upon the written commentary of His Eminence Sheikh Muhsin Qira'ati in his Tafsir An-Nur. Today we want to look at the topic of an unbearable punishment, and this will lead us through verses number 51 through to verse number 56. And this passage, as we will very shortly see, it speaks about some of the very punishing, very painful punishments that await the evildoers as they are in the depths of the fires of hell and the punishments of the abyss of the world to come. And although we have already spoke about some of the punishments in our previous discussions, this passage will speak about other pains and punishments. Before we go to that verse by verse explanation to look at some of the words that God has used and to understand this passage and then have some takeaway points, let us have a listen to the Arabic followed by the English translation, and then we'll come back and have a review of verses 51 through to 56. God says the following in this passage.
ثم إنكم أيها الضالون المكذبون لآكلون من شجر من زقوم فمالئون منها البطون.
Then, O you that have gone astray and cried lies to the truth, you will certainly eat of the zaqqum tree, a symbol of agony, and will fill your bellies with it.
فشاربون عليه من الحميم فشاربون شرب الهيم هذا نزلهم يوم الدين.
Then you shall drink over it boiling water, lapping it down like the lapping of the camels that suffer from an insatiable thirst. This will be theirs, the wretched ones' entertainment on the day of requital. Now, as we see from just a reading of these 6 verses, the punishment seems very intense and severe, whether it be the eating of the tree of zaqqum and our stomachs being filled with it, the stomachs of the iniquitous being filled with it, or them drinking of the boiling water. Let us look at some of the words which God has used in this passage, and we can hopefully better understand these punishments and what awaits the evil in the world to come. The term zaqqum, this is in reference to a bitter, putrid, and bad-tasting plant which would cause the body of a person to become inflamed if its juice just touched the person, let alone drinking it. Now, this plant, as we see in this passage, is considered as the food of those reserved to hell. The word nuzul is used to refer to those things which are prepared as a way of welcoming guests into one's home. The word heme is the name of a sickness which camels are afflicted with, in which no matter how much water they drink, they never become satiated and they end up dying in this state. And this word is also used in regards to the poorest ground, which is covered in sand or pebbles, and is such that in which no matter how much water you pour on it, the water continues to go into the earth and sink deep into the ground. The bitter foods of the world, which today people can't eat, are what will be fed to the sinners in the next life. The word la'akilun, you will want to eat less. However, in the next life, the individual will want to eat his fill from this tree. And the phrase where God says, فَمَالِئُونَ مِنْهَا الْبُطُونَ, that this phrase means that they will want to eat other foods in its place. However, in the next life, the only food which will be available will be the burning, scalding water. And people will be drinking this up as a thirsty camel. The phrase min al-hamim, drink to your heart's content. However, we know that in the next life, the sinners will be so thirsty that just as a thirsty camel arriving at a water well, that they will drink it all up, even though it is boiling hot water. And the phrase which God uses, in which He says, Surah al-Heme, this is in the meaning of a camel with that sickness that we mentioned. The camel that is so thirsty that no matter how much it drinks, it cannot satiate its thirst. This will be the painful outcome of the people who are destined for hell. Let us close with a few takeaway messages from this passage of Surah al-Waqiyah. The first point to keep in mind is that the wretched people, also known as Ashab al-Shimal, or the people of the right, they are those who are misguided. And as we have seen in the Quran and we read on a day-to-day basis, that this is something which we ask God for, that we are not of those who are the misguided, as we say in Surah al-Fatiha, verse number 7. Point number 2 to keep in mind on this passage is that all of the mental humiliation and the physical retribution, that these are all just preliminaries in order to welcome the wretched, the Ashab al-Shimal. If that is the case, then what is the actual welcoming which they will be given? If this is just the introduction to the welcoming, it's something to think about and ponder. And point number 3, and we'll conclude with this today, is Allah is all just, adil, and the punishments which He metes out are also based on His justice. Thus, all of the difficulties which a person faces are really the outcome of their own actions. And on that day, the day of judgment, that will be the day of retribution and reward based on His justice. We ask God to allow us to do the right actions, and that we can be enveloped by His mercy and compassion, and that we can be saved from these punishments of the fires and the punishments of the abyss of hell. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.